Alright, hello everybody. Today we're going to be going over something a little bit different. It's not going to be a hunt video, fish video, anything like that. It's actually going to be like what I'm going to call the equipment corner. So, what we're going over today is decoys, right? So if you know me, I'm a big waterfowl guy. I love the duck hunt, I love the goose hunt. It's a lot of fun. But today I'm going to be going over like what I use for decoys, what I'd recommend, what I wouldn't recommend, that sort of thing, because I have a lot of experience in this area because I've been doing it since I could pretty much walk. Me and my old man would hunt all the time back in the day. So what we're going to be going over today are rigs, so like how to rig up your decoys, what decoys you should buy, what decoys you should stay away from, that sort of thing. What I have, what I use. If you can't use X, Y, or Z, this is what you should use. So starting off, my favorite decoy that I use, like the best decoy quality in my opinion, is Greenhead gear. So I didn't pick this one intentionally, but if you can hear it, there's a BB in it. But this works. These work really well. They're I can't remember what they're called, but if you go onto Max Prairie Wings and look up Greenhead gear waterfowl decoys, I think you can pick up a dozen for like 60 bucks. They're cheap, they're reliable, they're great. Ever since I got these, I've used them for everything. While I'm here in the part of Wyoming I live in, not when I'm in college, but like I said, these are a great choice for decoys. They won't break the bank. They're a great all-around decoy. I love them. These are my favorite decoys that we have. I think they look really good. We've been using these for probably 5-6 years. There's not really been any wear or tear on them. I mean, obviously they're getting a little bit faded, but that's just par for the course because that's how decoys work, right? It's just, they're rattling around in your bag and that sort of thing. So like I said, this is what I'd recommend out of everything. Like I said, I think you can find them for like 60 bucks for a dozen of them, which is a lot. I mean, that's all you're really gonna need. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, mallards, they're very universal. Personally, I don't use a ton of them, but like they're always in my decoy spread. All right, moving on. What I use in college, since these are my good decoys, what I use in college is found these, and that's something too you guys got to look into, is what are they called? This is something you guys have to look into, which is like going on to Facebook and that sort of thing and trying to find decoys, because I found these with rigs for about 50 bucks, I think. So a dozen of these plus rigs, and these are hardcore waterfowl. They're decent decoys. I've only used them, I think, 2 years. They're starting to wear more than I wish they would. They look great, and they work well. They're my second favorites, obviously, because I think they're really good. It's just the wear on them seems a little bit rough because I do use them. It's not like I leave them in my decoy bag. I don't leave them at home all the time. They are used. I wouldn't say I abuse them, but I use them, so it's something that you got to consider. Honestly, from what I could see, these are more expensive out of the box than the Greenhead gear ones. I'd go with the Greenhead gear ones. I found a deal on these, so that's why I got them. So these are my like college decoys, so to speak. But yeah. So I mean, and going along with that, we have Higdon decoys, and this is something too, is you want diversity in your decoy spread. You don't want all mallards because everyone runs all mallards. And that's how kind of what I've been seeing, is everyone just runs mallards in a lot of places, and that's not really real, so to speak. That's not what everything looks like. So the next two decoys that we're going to go into, like decoy companies that we're going to go into, are not mallards, but it's a good idea. Like I said, just you want diversity. So starting off with my least favorite decoy that I have, it would be these. I think these are Flambeau, Flambeau Stormfront decoys. These were like 20 bucks for a 6-pack, and they're worth it. Like you get what you pay for with these. I've used them for I think 2-3 years. A lot of wear on them. Not very vibrant. They're just not great. You get what you pay for with these. I wouldn't buy them. I'm not a big fan of the company either. As it turns out, like the company, I'm not a big fan of that company. I don't think they make really good stuff, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, it's like I said, I wouldn't buy these again. You guys probably shouldn't. Wouldn't be a good trade-off. Like I don't think $20 it's worth. They're worth $20. I think they're worth like 10 or 5. Like they're not good decoys. I wouldn't buy them. And moving on, I mean, this is like name brand stuff. So this is Higdon. I like some of their stuff. It's just expensive. This is a widgeon, obviously, but if you don't know that, but so this is a widgeon. I use these quite a bit, just because, like I said, I try and make the spread look as real as possible, and that means multiple different species of ducks. We don't get a lot of these early in the year, but if you run them, it's going to be different than most other people's spreads. So you want to, like, my big thing is you want to look different than everyone else, because the more different that you look from everyone else, the ducks are going to think, oh, hey, this is real. That's how I see it. I could be wrong. Like I said, that's just my opinion. Higdon, I think they're good decoys. The price is a little high for them because you're definitely going to be paying for that name brand. They're like the, gosh, what would they be like? They're like a Ferrari, so to speak. Like everyone has, it's just that name brand. The reason why Ferraris are so expensive, not for this, but like the reason why Ferraris are so expensive is you get that name brand recognition, all that sort of thing. Similar thing with the Higdons. Personally, I mean, they're a good decoy. There's a little bit more wear than I'd like, but it's not taking away from the decoy, so to speak, because I've only, I think, used these 1 or 2 years as well. Said they're not really taking away from the overall look of the decoy, unlike the Flambeau. I wouldn't buy these just because they're a little bit more expensive. I'm not too big a fan of the wear on them at the moment, but they're good decoys. If you have the money to spend on it, I would still say maybe not, but like I said, they're good decoys. I do enjoy them. It's just diversity in my spread, okay? So going along that same line with diversity, this is something I run. And this, gosh, apparently, I've never seen this, but this is a Flambeau Drake pintail decoy. I found this years and years ago. I've got a hen and a drake set for whatever reason. I found some stuff, but I like running this, even though we hunt everywhere in the state of Wyoming. There's not a lot of pintails flying around, and you're only allowed one. But I do run a drake and a hen set because it is different. Like if you don't get anything else from this, just you're always going to want mallards because everyone wants to land with mallards, but you want to be putting other stuff in there. So just be different. I read a Ducks Unlimited article saying, that this one guy runs an extinct duck. Like, it's just to be different, I say add realism. Stand out in a good way, So it's different. This is an old decoy. I have no idea when this was made. There's a lot of fading to it. It's very faded. I mean, it looks like part of it was sitting out in the sun, but it's just the profile of it I really like, because there's no ducks that look like this where we hunt. So it's just something else in the spread that helps bring ducks in my opinion. I could be wrong. I have limits to prove it. I have limits that don't prove it. Like it's just one of those weird things where in my mind it makes sense, but to you maybe not. So that's this one. Said I run decoys. I run weird decoys all the time because I think it helps. And then finally, budget options, which are, I think, really smart. So back before I really got into all this stuff, my dad had a bunch of decoys, and this is one of them. He bought them like probably brand new in the 90s. Still use them. I think they're very useful. I use them a lot for early season stuff because it's faded, but you can still see like the green and some of the markings. So that's something that Higdon does, is they sell early phase decoys, which I think is a scam, because a hen mallard looks like a early season drake or hen. But I run these in this early season because, like I said, they're faded. They're not nearly as good. I do have good decoys for later in the season, but it all depends on what you're doing. I think these are great. I mean, at the end of the day, most of the ducks are going to be coming in the dark. So, I mean, if they just see silhouettes of what they're supposed to be landing on, probably land on it. I like these. These work. I mean, obviously they're not top of the line. They're probably top of the line in 1990, but like I said, they're worth it to me. If you have like 20 bucks, you could probably go to a yard sale or something like that and pick up a dozen of these for 20 bucks, and they'll work just as good as the fancy like Higdons or something like that. Said I use these a lot. And then something else you can do with these old faded ones, which I did, is turn them into black decoys. And this is like a similar style. If you can hear it, this one has been shot at quite a few times. Yeah, like, I mean, I haven't tried this yet. We'll see how this works. I'm definitely going to be using them this year. Again, it's just one of those things that makes your spread look different than everybody else's. Personally, I think that's a good thing because ducks get used to patterns, right? So if you're constantly setting up, everyone's constantly setting up with mallard decoys, they're going to associate mallards with a bad time. So if you have different setups and everything like that, I think it helps, but I could always be wrong. Obviously, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because even though this is kind of what I want my job to be, I don't know any more than you guys. I mean, I just have experience and what works. Like I said, this works. This might work really well. This might not. I'll see this year. Again, the way my brain thinks of it is it's just something else that's a little bit different than the ducks are used to, so they might believe it's something else. So yeah, so that's that on the decoy front. So now, rigs. So rigs, all right. Good ones, bad ones. What do I use? Honestly, I just use like Texas rigs, is what these are called, for convenience. It's very easy. I don't got to wrap them up a whole bunch or anything like that. But honestly, back when we were using these decoys, before I started really getting into it, we just tied a piece of fishing line to like a washer or a bolt or something like that. It worked just as well as what I'm using now. Like I said, this is just for ease of convenience and ease of storage. I don't have to have them like laying all over the place. I can hang them up and that sort of thing. But honestly, for a budget option, if you really need something, you can spend 20 bucks on decoys, find fishing line, and just find parts in your dad's garage and start using that. Ask them first. But for me, I use Texas rigs because, like I said, it's just easy and convenient for me. I have a lot of decoys, so that's not a flex. That's just years and years of duck hunting and getting new stuff and getting different stuff every couple of years. Just adds up over time. But brands that I like and don't like when it comes to Texas rigs, my least favorite brand has to be Rig 'em Right at this moment in time, just because this is what their setup is. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So you actually have a weight that slides on the line, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea, right? But when you're throwing decoys out, okay, this is how they hang. When you throw decoys out, the weight slides and it whips you. This end whips you. I've had it whip me quite a few times when I've been hunting. But that's not the worst part about it, and that's not the worst part about it. So where I hunt in Wyoming, it can get cold, right? And with these decoys, your loop, so this thing that you hook onto your carabiner or whatever you have, your loop is on the bottom instead of on the top, right? So instead of having to, and this is just a mild complaint, but this is how I see it. Instead of just being able to pick up your decoy, throw it on the carabiner, and keep moving, you have to pick your decoy all the way out of the water, find this, grab it, you know, do all that. To me, it's just a lot of unnecessary movement, and when it's cold and the water's cold, it adds up. It does. The less time you have to spend playing with lines in the water, the less cold you are, the less cold your fingers get. So yeah, like I said, I would never buy these. These came with my hardcore decoys. I'd never buy them again. That's not something I'd like. Rig 'em right is not. I mean, they make good products. This is not one of them. Let's just leave it at that. So, what I went to originally were Higdon Battleship Rigs. So, there's two variants, which is really weird because they used to run them a little bit differently. But the original variant that I like and that I continue to use is just like the similar thing. It's an egg sinker on the end of it, but instead of it going up and down, it's just on the bottom, and it's pretty much just a snap swivel where you can go up and, I mean, you can see what I mean. You just pick your decoy up out of the water, throw a carabiner on it, let it drop down. Like I said, I like these a lot better. And these ones, I think you can buy them on Amazon. You want to make sure you get the egg weight ones, the Higdon Battleship Rigs. They're like 15 bucks for half a dozen of them. To me, that's a great deal, especially in this industry. Like the Rig 'em Rights are like 30 for a half a dozen, which doesn't make sense to me. It's a good price point. It's good for it, but the problem is they've changed from being like egg weights to pyramids, and I understand the thought process behind that. I understand the thought process behind that. You know, you get more into the mud or the rocks or anything like that, and you get better contact with the bottom, and you don't have as much. You don't have as much like room for error. So these are the pyramid ones. The problem I've run into with these though is the lines break or snap or pull out of the weight. So I don't know if it's because it's got such a sharp edge right there or how it's situated in it. These work all right until they don't. I've had a couple decoys float away from me because these break. I've caught them all. But yeah, personally, I wouldn't buy these again. The same thing, Higdon Battleship Rig off Higdon. Their website, it said 15 or 20 bucks for half a dozen of them. I wouldn't buy these. Get the egg weight ones if you want to go with the Higdon route. Yeah, that's like I said. That's what I would go with. And the new company that I've been using is Tanglefree. So they're a little bit longer, but I am enjoying it. That you get a lot of bang for your buck. So you got Tanglefree. It's got a big like egg sinker kind of thing, similar to how the Higdons are set up. You know, your decoy slides, not your weight. But the best part about it, in my opinion, is you get an oversized carabiner, which is really helpful, especially when it's cold and your fingers aren't working, so you can just give one of them. Like I said, in my opinion, right now, you either get the egg weight Higdons or the Tanglefree. I would never go with Rig 'em Right ever again. Obviously, if you don't have the money for any of that stuff, if you're a broke college student like me now, I would definitely go with just find stuff lying around. Like I've seen people use baling twine for sinkers. So it's really your prerogative, that big word, on what you use. Personally, I like these just because it's easy to manage, that sort of thing. Obviously, it's like I said, it's up to you. Like I said, what I like to use may be different than what you like to use. Like I said, maybe you like the Rig 'em Right ones. Personally, I don't, just because of where I live and how I hunt. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but yeah. And final disclaimer here, I'm not sponsored by any companies as much as I'd love to be. These are everything that you've seen I've bought or someone else has bought. It's never been sent to us from any company. These are all my opinions. I haven't been paid to do anything. Obviously, I only have about 5 subscribers, so it's not like I'm getting paid by any big companies. Like I said, personally, I like what I like, but if the big takeaways from this video is I would buy the either Tanglefree or the egg weight Higdons Texas rigs, and honestly, best bang for your buck. To me, have lasted the longest, been the best, just work really well, are the Greenhead gear decoys. I think I think what I use are the hot buy, but the ones that you can get from like Max Prairie Wings, I think like $60 for a dozen of them, which is a steal, are the pro grade. So like that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Again, these are all my opinions. No one's paying me for any of this. This is just a guy in his garage rambling to a camera. So thanks for watching.